Hi there. I'm just going to get the screen share and so on set up. For those of you already here, good to see you.
Hi, Shane.
Hi, how are things going?
Hi, just one thing after the another. But
I'm,
that's, I think, work life.
I'm sure you must be very busy these days, so I'm really glad to have you on the call.
Thank you. I really wanted to attend this one.
I think it's going to be one of our more important calls. We've got some global activities to cover, and I want to make sure everyone is carefully organized. Let's see. Great to share my slides. What? How are things? We have a bit of background noise. I'm just going to, yeah, perfect. Thank you. Wow, it's the 24th of March already. That's incredible. Time has truly flown. Before we got to this stage in the month, I was thinking, oh, I've got 2 months before I head to the United States for the Linux Foundation meeting. We have an all hands meeting on the 2nd of May until the 5th. And now I find myself thinking I've got 1 month. Welcome aboard, Martin. It's good to have you here.
Hello.
Hi, Shane. Good afternoon. It's Andreas.
Hi, Andreas. Great to have you here. I'm just going to share our antitrust policy notice. As usual, the full policy can be found on our website. And if you have any questions, you can let me know. So the 2 items on the agenda I wanted to cover today were the M&A Summit and then a survey that OpenChain will be doing globally. Because we're looking at Leon of GTC taking the lead on a lot of the coordination of the M&A Summit, I won't jump too far ahead, but the short note is that at my last count, 5 partners had stepped forward to do presentations at this summit, and that's obviously super great. It means that instead of a 2-hour event, we're really looking at a 3-hour event, and it probably reflects that this summit will be the beginning of something bigger. Just like we've done with security and we're about to work on with export control, it would be great that subsequent to the summit, if we could release a guide to OpenChain and M&A to help set the tone for the market so that people can replicate the success of others. So what I wanted to suggest for those partners who plan to present at the summit is that if you could also consider how we put this together, the information and outcomes into a guide for the community, that would be a great long-term artifact to leave out there for people. Jacob, welcome on board. I just saw you dialed in. Now, in case Leon is joining, I'm going to pause on that, and I'm going to move to our next topic. We'll swing back to the M&A Summit. So the next topic relates to the survey. OpenChain is going to do a global industry survey. The survey will be available for people to take and modify under CC0, though naturally we'd ideally like to have the survey used around the world in one format so we can consolidate the information found. I'm just going to put the link to the survey into our chat so you can actually open it and access it if you so wish. This survey is taking comments until the 29th of March. And the idea here is to give everyone a chance to make sure it's suitable and useful before we do global translations. We have already had a commitment from Marcel to help with the German translation. Yari said there's quite a lot of comments in the doc. Yes. We're fortunate to have feedback on comments on the doc from people like Martin Yankee. And also we've had feedback directly by email, for instance, from Owada-san in Japan. The purpose of this document will be on the 29th of March, lock it down, translate it into Japanese, Korean, simplified and traditional Chinese, German. And then I'm also looking for people to help with French, Italian, and Spanish. We've got a commitment from Marcel and his team to do the German translation, which is really great. Thank you very much. If you or your teams have any abilities to potentially do the French, Spanish, or Italian translations, that would be appreciated. And right now, before the 29th, it would be appreciated if you could have a look at the survey and see if you think it's all right.
Shane?
Yeah.
How's this going to be delivered when it's published? Is it going to be a portal? Is registration? What?
You mean delivered in terms of finally publish the results? We'll just put them.
Well, no, to get people to complete the survey.
We'll just use Google Forms and another form for China to collect the results. That's been our standard practice. If you believe that might be unsuitable these days because of circumvention or hacking, I'd be very glad to know. But generally, times have changed. It's like with our summits, I've had to lock them down now with RSVP because we were beginning to get clowns jumping into our summits to cause chaos. But previously, our surveys and other Linux Foundation surveys have been Google Forms.
I was wondering, sorry, just on this subject. So I'm working with an organisation that do a lot of surveying of IT organisations. They do a lot of work with VCs and investors. And I've shared with them the questions for OpenChain assessment. They might be interested in having this as part of the survey. I was wondering if you're interested in if they or we were to do a group survey and send you the results of what we find from the survey.
Absolutely, that would be fantastic.
You append it to your Google Doc or whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's sort of
passed from last time to see whether we have any actions open here. It's onboarding, offboarding codecraft team. Task was mailing lists, report the mailing lists here. Has anybody reported some mailing lists?
Yes, not only the mailing list.
Oh, it's someone else is talking. Is this intended for this call or is this another topic? They're muted. It was someone else's topic. Right, Andrew just said he's in, he's late, he can listen but not talk. So yeah, when it comes to the context of what this survey is meant to do, this survey, this material is intended to be relatively high level and not too granular. And that's purposeful to try to make it easy and quick for people to fill it out. And then for us to get a general pulse on the industry health. Martin, your idea of combining it with another survey or providing other information from an adjacent survey is, of course, super welcome. It allows people to dive deeper. So the general industry survey, I know it's 1,700 words, but it basically checks how big's the organization, do they have an OSPO or not, what's their budgeting, what's their general way of using open source. And then we begin to move into things like what are the trigger points for the choice of open source? And then we go into issues like, are you concerned about, let's say, licensing choice or project governance? Do you have upstream contributions? How do you do compliance, export control, security? How do you do automation? And then it touches on the standards a little bit later. Are you using OpenChain and SPDX? Or are you using something else? So, I mean, the survey is meant to be a high-level survey. The results will be for the strategic snapshot of the global market. And I think we'll be distributing it in initially 9 countries. We don't want to get too granular with this document. We want this survey to stay high-level. So, when you're looking at it, when you're making contributions, it would be great if you could keep in mind that we don't want to drill down too far on this. we will do follow-up surveys to drill into topics more specifically. And that also goes to what Martin said, where he may be working with an organization to do something much more in depth about the actual OpenChain conformance questionnaire. And those type of secondary activities are super welcome. Naturally, we'll promote them. But this survey itself is the big overview. And it'll probably be available in Google Forms in every language, and we'll have an additional distribution channel in China because they can't access Google. Just pausing there to see if there's any more questions about it. All right, if there's no questions, just bear in mind, we take comments on this survey until the 29th of March. After that, the translations will be underway, and approximately 1 to 2 weeks later, I expect to launch the survey. At that juncture, OpenChain is officially asking all of the partners to consider how they can distribute it to their channels to ensure we get the maximum coverage possible. The survey itself is CC0. The survey results will be made freely available, not only on our website, but the actual results, as you could say, the source code documents and so on will be CC0. We're not capturing any private information on this document, so there will be no geographic restrictions or issues with taking this and even repurposing it as you want. So I'm looking forward to working with you on that, and particularly it would be vitally important and useful for us if you could explicitly contact your customers about doing this survey, so that maybe for the first time we get a global snapshot of where people's minds are regarding open source governance as a whole. Questions like, are they using ISO standards such as OpenChain or SPDX, are important for us in our small communities, but the most important topics are probably the mental models of how people approach open source. How formalized are their processes, how funded are their open source teams, and stuff like that. Now, there are other surveys. I believe that Bitkom's German survey will be out in an English translation in the next week or two. They've had a slightly different question set. They dig deeper into topics. And some of the results from Germany were surprising. Marcel can correct me if I'm wrong, but over 800 entities were asked about compliance and about OpenChain. And a surprising number, around 200, said that they were already engaging with OpenChain. Would that be correct, Marcel?
Yes, it sounds about right. It was a surprising high number.
Yeah, I mean, half of them had heard of OpenChain or so, but 20% actually were using it, which it indicates two things. One, as we've always said, the website is where people tell us they've adopted OpenChain and we arrange PR together. But it's not reflective of the community side or size. And second of all, the market penetration is very solid, and it's wonderful that Bitkom have a data point for us that in looking primarily at the normal European small to medium enterprise market, 20% are using OpenChain. That's a remarkable statistic for where we are in the life cycle. I think everyone was surprised by that. And the next question is, how are you using OpenChain? It's a very high number, but it is important. It's indicative of our collective success. And while we're taking a different approach with our global survey, as I said, less granular, we're going to have the same basic touch point on whether people are using these ISO standards. So, we will see the awareness of people using OpenChain or SPDX, and we'll see whether they use it or not from a non-granular level. From there, as necessary, we can collaborate with you on a country-by-country basis to dig further into the data. I think when it's ready, you'll see the Bitkom survey has some more detailed dives into the specifics of how and why people are doing things. And that might inspire you to do similar work in your jurisdictions, and you can certainly contact Bitkom to collaborate with them as well. Like I said, we're higher level. They went a bit more granular, but overall, we're all complementary. Right.
Just a question, Marcel. This is Jan. Do you have participated in this year's Bitkom survey?
As a sponsor, yes, we have.
Okay, so I didn't see any announcements on the results so far. Are they planned for upcoming weeks? Or?
So there was announcement for the German results and the German version of the monitor. And actually, I'm putting some information on my LinkedIn profile every now and then as well. But the English version hasn't come out yet. So, but it will be there in the next 1-2 weeks, hopefully.
Okay, thank you.
And from the stance of the OpenChain project, once we see the English version published, we'll be, of course, sharing that around the world as well. We'll be letting everyone know in our community so they can digest what's there.
Shane, one question here on this survey. How will it be published, or will it be a document? Will it be a website, or how can this survey be completed?
So when the survey is closed and we assemble the results, the basic survey will just be published on the OpenChain website as a news paste. We will also, time permitting, make a PDF version for printing. And of course, all of the information will be stored on GitHub so people can take it and make their own publications out of it. There's no restrictions whatsoever on what people can do with it because of CC0. But yeah, we'll publish it on the website and have a printable document. And from there, it's a case of we rely on the community to find additional methods of publishing or sharing it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Probably what's going to happen at a guess with this survey is that other projects will take the survey and use parts of it in their own surveys in the future. So we might get a lot more information over time with some of the touch points, not all compliance, of course, but we might get interesting information about OSPOs and similar and how they do that. So you'll get it on our website as a large post. You'll get it as a printable document, and you'll have a link to all of the base material, essentially spreadsheet on GitHub for remixing. All righty. Unless there's another question there, the thing I just want to swing back to is the M&A conference. So with so many speakers already interested, 5 speakers and the intent to have a panel, we're looking at an event that's approximately 3 hours long. And it'll be recorded, it'll be very heavily promoted. Just so you know, our summit so far in February, we had security. In March, we had IP. Each of those summits had approximately 50 people attending live, and then of course more with the recording. So you can expect a healthy enough audience. Because the M&A Summit had such unusual interest from our partners, we may have a larger audience than usual, and certainly we'll be promoting the M&A Summit very heavily to try to make sure like the Silicon Valley crowd are aware of it, even if they don't normally pay attention to our compliance stuff. So it should be a good platform. For arranging the specific schedule and things, you need to talk to Leon from GTC. That's his responsibility. But any points, ideas, or suggestions you have, I also am very happy to take them. When it comes to the timing, I believe we're settled on late April. I believe that our current projection is to have the event on the 28th, I believe, of April. Yeah, which is one day before I fly to America. Okay. I think that we will be holding that live with the time. I believe the time will be most suitable for US and Europe. and then we will be distributing to Asia via recordings. I'm also going to check the interest for people in creating subtitled versions of this. So it's possible this will get a longer tail audience than usual. Right. Pausing there, I just wanted to see if people had any questions or comments. Okay. Then we will wrap up here with the final note that I would love if we make sure the M&A Summit also results in an M&A guide, and we can publish that in May to help the global community. It will cross-sell the recording of the event, but it will also complement our other activities like our security guide, which is now a draft specification, our forthcoming work on an export control guide, and similar topics we expect to touch on in the next few months. So it would work nicely, and it should also be a good opportunity for those partners assisting in that to get additional exposure. Okay, just a general news item or two as we wrap up here. You may have seen that BlackBerry just announced that they are whole entity OpenChain conformant. This makes them the third entity in the world to do that. The first was ARM. The second committed to and currently implementing is Bosch, and now BlackBerry. We actually have a fourth entity, one of the most important supply chain companies, about to announce whole entity conformance as well. It's slightly unexpected to have large entities picking up OpenChain for the whole legal entity, but it's heartening, and it indicates in certain markets it's of great interest. We do expect the majority of conformance, and for instance, the majority of companies that said that they were conformant to Bitcoin, about 200 companies, we expect them to be doing narrowly defined programs as usual. We don't expect to be telling the market you have to be whole entity conformance, but we will celebrate it every time it happens. Yari had one question. The M&A guide, is that being done at the moment? No. I'm relying on our summit to provide the foundation to start that guide. Inside like OpenChain administration, there is just not enough knowledge and bandwidth. It's you who has the information about what's going on in M&A with your clients. I don't have enough insight to get it started, so the summit is the starting point. Second question from Yari, do you know if Russ is making any case study about BlackBerry? Yes. Russ with the company OSS Consultants is currently working on a case study with BlackBerry about how and why they did what they did. It's hard to get the precise timescale on release. I'm hoping we'll have that next month or at latest in May. Clapping from Yari. All righty. Well, that's it on my end. Is there any other business? Thank you very much for your time. I know you're incredibly busy, and I appreciate your support.
Thanks, Shane.
Have a wonderful day. Take care. Be safe.
See you soon. Bye.